Hi, Larry Alterman here, and I recently put out a video about cycle stop valves. I had noticed that there was a lot of videos about cycle stop valves, and they were all saying tremendously wonderful things about cycle stop valves. And I had noticed that there was a lot of misinformation in these videos, and then I noticed that they were all put out by the cycle stop valve company. So I decided to make my own video in which I proved some of the things that they said were not true, and I dispelled some of the disinformation that they were spewing on their videos. And the result of that was I got a lot of extremely hateful comments from the company, which they posted on my video. And I'm going to show you one in a second, but I want to say this to the owner of the company, Carrie Austin. Carrie, you should have left well enough alone. Had you just ignored my video, that would have been the only video I made, and you wouldn't have had to deal with me anymore. But you wanted to insult me and prove what an idiot I was, and now I'm going to produce this video to defend myself, and I don't feel bad at all about it because I know what kind of person you are. Okay, so now let's go on to the next slide. Okay, and in this next slide, I want to show you the first letter that he wrote to me. He says, Larry, I deleted all your comments trying to keep you from being humiliated. He's referring to my comments that I posted on his website, in which I explained some of the things he said was not true. Then he says, I skimmed through your 45 minutes of drivel, enough to see you understand so little about pumps. You are an embarrassment to all engineers. Sorry to get personal, but it is hard not to do when you spend 45 minutes making a fool of yourself. You are the ball-faced liar, not bold or bald, ball. Not one word you said is true. Really, not one word. Amazing. You should be ashamed of yourself. Like I have said before, if you ever want to expand your mind instead of your ego, call me and I will explain how it all works in the simplest way I can. Gee, thank you, Carrie, for being willing to explain things so simply to a little simpleton like myself. So you can see that there's a lot of anger, vitriol, and hate in this letter. But I want to say this was the least bad of the letters. After this, I got really hateful letters. They were so bad that my instinct was to delete them right away. I was just so shocked, I deleted them right away. And actually, I regret it because I wish I had kept them so that I could prove what he wrote. But unfortunately, I deleted them. But you'll just have to take my word for it. They were pretty bad. So let's go on to the next thing he says in his letter. He says to me, that was not even a cycle stop valve you showed in your thumbnail. That was a Flowmatic. And Flowmatic is a big company that knows a good thing when they see it, as they have been copying everything I make for nearly 3 decades. And yes, he's right. I did make a mistake and put the Flowmatic picture in instead of the CSV picture. They look almost alike, but it did make me realize that Flowmatic was another company that makes these valves, and I had thought that cycle stop valve was a generic name for these valves. But it's not a generic name, it's a company name, which makes a valve that most other people simply call pressure reducing valves or pump control valves. And most of the other companies don't try to claim that these valves could save the world. But this company, Cycle Stop Valves, they are claiming that this valve can do all these things that it can't do. They are just spewing misinformation, I guess, so they can just sell more of these products. So the next thing that happens is I get this email from YouTube, and it says that has been a copyright takedown request received by YouTube for your video. And they say, we received the copyright infringement notification below regarding your videos. We believe the content is protected by fair use. We are writing to let you know we do not plan to remove your video at this time. And that was in response to what Carrie had written, which was, I don't understand the creator is using snippets and tracks from my video without necessary authorization. The entire video contains liable and slanderous remarks about a patented product and a reputable company. That should be all you need to know to remove this video from your site. And then YouTube responded, well, thank you for your message. However, we remain concerned that your copyright notification is not valid. We believe the content is protected by fair use. As a result, the content will remain live on YouTube. Sorry, Carrie, you failed to take down my video. Maybe you'll succeed the next time, who knows. And let me mention something else. He always likes to say how it's a patented product. Well, in an exchange that I had before he realized how much he hated me, he admitted that there's no longer a patent, because I said to him, if it's a patented product, how could Flowmatic sell the same valve that you did? And then he said, well, first of all, the patent is expired. And second of all, it wasn't a patent on the whole idea, just on a particular design feature of the idea. So really, it's just a tiny little patent that expired a long time ago, but he's so proud of it. He's always mentioning how it's a patented product, but it is no longer a patented product. He says, Flowmatic is a big company that knows a good thing when they see it. They've been copying everything I make for nearly 3 decades. Yeah, right. Like Flowmatic makes hundreds, if not thousands, of products. Their product list is so long I couldn't even count them all. Cycle stop valve makes only 6 valves, all the same type. All of these pressure reducing or cycle stop valves, as they call them. And yet he says Flowmatic is a big company that has been copying everything he does for 3 decades. I mean, this guy is completely delusional. I want to talk a little bit about this video now that Cycle Stop Valves put out, because this is a perfect example of the tremendous amount of misinformation that they put out. In this video, he's trying to claim that his simple pressure reducing valve will actually work better in every circumstance than a variable frequency drive. A variable frequency drive is a very sophisticated pump in which the speed of the motor is varied so that it can attain maximum efficiency. And of course, it costs a lot more than a CSV valve, and it's way better. Of course it's way better. Nobody would buy it if it wasn't way better. But this guy, Carrie Austin, is going to try to convince you that this CSV valve is way better than the variable frequency drive. And in fact, it's just a big conspiracy theory that everybody has to keep you from buying his valve, because they want you to spend more money on this other valve. It's quite a ridiculous thing that he's saying. But I find it funny the way he starts this video. He goes, electrical engineers think reducing the speed of a pump will save energy. Mechanical engineers think restricting the flow will make a pump work harder. Neither of these things are true. Mechanical engineers just don't understand VFDs, and electrical engineers just don't understand pumps. Oh yeah, Carrie, that's right. Only you understand these things. You're the only one in this world that just understands it all, and only you know that your little CSV valve is the greatest thing in the world. Everybody else knows that it's not. It's just insanely ridiculous. Anyways, so this video is so full of disinformation, it really boggles the mind. And in fact, I am going to make a separate video about this video, in which I'm going to show everything in this video is wrong. I'm going to take this video down completely and utterly. But I'm not going to do that in this video. In this video, I'm going to talk about this in some general terms. And if you don't believe me, here's some comments from other people that about this video. And the funny part about it is I got these comments from Carrie's own video. In other words, he showed these comments as if to say, look at these people, look what they say. But I'm not afraid to show these comments because I know they're wrong. So the first comment is about this VFD video, and he goes, to whom it may concern, ignorance is truly bliss. Your website demonstrates you have a very rudimentary understanding of pumping technology and fluid mechanics. I am going to send it to my engineering buddies so they can get a good laugh. Good for you for being able to cite VFD technology from 1993 as a reason to use pressure-reducing valves that have been around for over 100 years, all the while claiming they save energy, all the while getting people to believe it and making a business out of it. You don't even understand the pump affinity laws from the looks of things. I find the ethics of your marketing very questionable and would suggest you make some edits and stop spreading lies. There is no VFD conspiracy. Now, I want to point out that I did not write this. Somebody else wrote this, and Carrie Austin actually posted this on the video. And he posted this as if to say, I'm not afraid to show this because I'm going to prove it's wrong. Well, yeah, he tries to prove it wrong with disinformation and misinformation and all that, but it's not wrong. It's 100% right. Let's see the next comment that somebody wrote. He says, I am a licensed professional engineer and also a certified energy manager. If it were worth my time, I could easily show you how putting a flow restricting valve in a pump wastes energy. It is probably the first thing you learn in engineering. You are the first good old boy I've seen making ridiculous claims. You can't say a technology is wrong because you've seen it implemented in the wrong applications. I don't think you have the knowledge or credentials to back up what you're saying. I read most of the drivel on your site, and I'm appalled it is even legal for you to do so. Like I said, all these comments agree exactly with what I'm saying, and it's funny because uh, Carrie Austin is actually allowing these comments to be shown on his video because he's so confident that he can convince you that these comments are wrong. There's another letter from the Grundfos company. I don't know if I'm pronouncing it right. They make variable frequency drives, which again is a kind of a pump, which is very efficient, very expensive, but very efficient. And this company politely and accurately explains why a CSV valve cannot take the place of a VFD pump. And after this letter, which Carrie Austin posts on his site, Cycle Stop Valves responds with a 3-page letter full of bizarre information. It's a bunch of gobbledygook that makes no sense, and it is intended to muddy the waters by seeming knowledgeable. And they conclude, okay, that his Cycle Stop Valve concludes the following. After showing this letter, they conclude the following. He says, Cycle Stop Valves Incorporated is making a profit by making pumps and motors last longer, reducing the size of pressure tanks required, and eliminating water hammer, all the while saving just as much energy as VFDs. It is evident from this this letter that they're writing, that some companies will go to great lengths to prevent customers from understanding these facts. In other words, he thinks that it's all a conspiracy theory. And if only you knew that the CSV valve was the best thing in the world, nobody would buy anything else. You would only buy this one valve. And he concludes by saying, you can't change the laws of physics, in which he's trying to say the laws of physics are on my side, and you can't change it. I have proved that the laws of physics are on my side. Well, this is a classic misdirection, because the laws of physics are totally against you, Carrie Austin, and you, Carrie Austin, cannot change the laws of physics. And let me demonstrate this by showing this silly little picture here. And here is a very basic physics principle that any engineer or person with physics knowledge will find obvious. If you restrict the flow of something, indeed if you restrict anything, you waste energy. There's simply no way around this. If you restrict something, you waste energy. And yet, Carrie Austin is trying to say that if you restrict something with this valve that he has, you're going to save energy. It's the most ridiculous thing in the world. And if you just look at it from a physics point of view, you know it's completely untrue. Now, sometimes people who don't understand a lot of these things, they get confused because they don't know the particular subject. They don't know fluid dynamics, so they assume that Carrie Austin knows what he's talking about. But if you take what he's saying and you apply it to everyday life, you can see how ridiculous it is. So here I've shown that. I've shown a man with a ball and chain on his leg, and he's trying to beat the guy in a race who's running Nike shoes. And Carrie Austin is trying to tell you that you should buy his $25 ball and chain because you will run faster than this other guy. And he's going to say things like, well, Before I get back to that, I want to show you something else that he has in his video. That's the VHD video, and in a second I'm going to get back to that picture I just showed you. But I just want to show this first so I can get back to that other video. He says in his video that this pump here at 15 gallons per minute uses 1,038 watts. But at 2 gallons per minute, it only uses 468 watts. Therefore, he wants you to think that at 2 gallons per minute, this pump is 2.2 times more efficient. Okay? But that's the most ridiculous thing in the world because it's pumping 7.5 times slower. So if you consider the fact that it's pumping 7.5 times slower, it's actually 3.4 times less efficient. But he conveniently forgets the fact that it's pumping slower and just tells you, oh, it's using less watts. Yeah, it's using less watts, but it's pumping way less water. It's just so stupid. It's unbelievable how he tries to misdirect, thinking people don't know what he will believe what he says. So I'm going to go back to that other video now, and I'm going to ask you the question: who do you think is going to win this race? This guy here who has the ball and chain, or this guy here who has the Nike shoes? Now, if you're Carrie Austin, he's going to try to convince you that this man will win the race. That's what he's actually going to try to do. And he's going to do this by muddying the water. He's going to say things like, it may seem counterintuitive, but restricting the runner with a ball and chain will actually reduce calorie consumption. Oh, but you may think that he's running 7 times as fast, but it is a marathon and the fast man is only running 15 miles an hour. Thus, it will take him 2 hours to finish the race, and the man, according to the Bernoulli flatulence formula, only has 1,500 calories of body fat in him, so he will run out of calories in 1.23 hours and drop dead, whereas the man with the ball and chain will finish the race. Here are the graphs to prove it. And then he will show you some fancy graphs like this. Oh, look, you see these graphs? You see how this matches this, and this intersects with this? And you have the flatulence factor here and the Bernoulli equation. And look at this intersection. It's the intersection of disinformation. And this is where the rabbit dies and the turtle wins. Look at this fancy equation. Yeah, you better believe me. Look how fancy I am. That's the way he tries to misdirect you. He tries to misdirect people that don't really understand these things by giving this absurd information in the hope that you will believe it. And I'm going to switch gears a little bit now, and I'm going to give some credit to you, Carrie. I want to give you this credit. Mr. Austin, you have a very slick, beautiful, and well done website. You should be proud of this website. The slickness of this website will fool many people into believing your product will help them. And I understand why you hate somebody like me who threatens this carefully developed deception. You've put a lot of time into this deception, and you don't want people like me telling the truth. That's a very bad thing for you. Now, I'm going to speculate about the origin of cycle stop valves, deception, and disinformation. And I want to say up front that this is my speculation. I don't know if this is true. It's just what I believe is probably true. It's just speculation. But nevertheless, I'm going to explain what I think my speculation is. Cycle Stop Valves is a small company with a limited product line. They're not like Flowmatic, which sells thousands of valves. They just sell a few valves. They just sell these particular pump control pressure reducing valves, which they have called cycle stop valves. And my guess is these valves are indeed useful in some very limited circumstances. For example, if you really do need constant pressure for some particular reason, these valves can help you. Or if you find that your pump is very close to its maximum level, but not quite, you might find that the pump tends to cycle on and off fast, and this valve can prevent that. There are some limited situations in which this valve can help, but in general, these valves are not going to help you very much, and they will almost always cost you energy. So their true usefulness is very limited. And so I'm guessing because cycle stop valves only made this valve, they were not making much money because the valve is too limited. So they probably, I'm guessing that if they tell the truth, they don't sell many valves. They don't sell the valve. People would call maybe and they'd say, how does your valve work? And if they told the truth, they wouldn't buy the valve most of the time. And then they probably learned that if they lie, oh my God, they can sell these vows if they lie, and they just present misinformation to people that don't really understand. They can lie. And the more you lie, of course, the more it gets easier to lie. It's sort of like the same psychology as a Ponzi scheme. You start out, and the first lie is probably hard, but you get used to it, and it just gets easier and easier, and you find out, oh my God, these lies are working. I'm selling lots of these things. I'm making lots of money, and you get addicted to the lies, and the lies get worse and worse and worse. And I think this is what probably happened to this company. And then, I'm guessing, along comes the internet. And oh my God, the internet is the king of the ability to provide to display disinformation. And so they came along and they produced websites and videos and all these things to just to uh, show all this information, to spew this information, as I like to say. And they found, I think, that they were probably selling a lot of products. And and people have, of course, told them they were wrong, but they just do it in letters, and they don't mind that because it's just a letter. So I'm the first one to do a video to take them apart. So of course they hate that. They hate that more than anything in the world because all of a sudden it's a video to compete with their videos, and they don't like that at all. And of course they hate me, and that's okay with me. That's okay. And I want to point out that I'm going to do a follow-up video. I've talked about this video in passing, but I'm actually going to do a follow-up video in which I'm going to take every single aspect of their video, this VHD video, apart. I'm going to show how every single thing that he says is utterly and completely wrong. I will expose every part of this video as disinformation. When I'm finished with this video, professors will use this video in their courses to explain the very essence of disinformation. Okay, so I'm going to conclude now, and I'm going to ask this question. So should I feel bad? I understand their point of view. They hate me. They're making a good living, and and I come along and I threaten this. Well, I'll ask another question. Did you feel bad for Bernie Madoff when he was exposed? These people are making money at the expense of other people wasting their money. They're selling these valves to people who are then their pumps are breaking. They're not working the way they're supposed to. A lot of money is wasted so that these people can make money. So I don't think I should feel bad about taking them apart. And I'm sure this is just one video. I'm sure they'll be able to overcome this. And I'm sure they're going to try very hard to take this video down too, because uh, yeah, it's horrible to them. So anyways, I'm going to conclude by saying this. Stay tuned for my next video in which I will take apart this video step by step and show how every single piece of this video is ridiculous. Okay, that's the end. Uh, have a good day, Mr. Austin.